Guys, please check your audio and video settings, please. Guys, everyone, please check your audio and video settings, please. Guys, can you respond in the chat box? Yes, boss. Other day I was talking about importance of the layered application. Yes, boss. Other day I asked to go through Java Bean, guys. Yeah, in my project, multiple layers are there. Nothing but multiple classes are there, having different logic. I want to pass more than 3 values from one class to another class. You will send them as individual method parameter values, or you will prefer sending them as Java Bean object, guys. You will prefer sending them as Java Bean object, guys. So definitely more than 3 values mean from one layer to another layer, we always try to pass in the form of what? Java Bean class object or not. We always prefer passing them in the form of what? Java Bean class object or not? What do you say, guys? Yeah. Java Bean is a class that contains getter setter methods. Cool. Yeah, setter methods are useful to set or modify data of bean properties, nothing but member variables. Getter methods are useful to read data from bean properties. Yes. While sending more than 3 values between the classes of application or project, we try to send them in the form of what? Single object called Java Bean class object. We try to send them in the form of single object called Java Bean class object. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on, everyone. Hey, from the market, you want to get 10 items, boss. Tell me, you will try to bring 10 items individually, or you will pack them into one carry bag? You will pack them into one carry bag, na? 1, 2 items, max 3 items, you try to carry them individually by putting in the hands. But if more than 3 items are there, and if from the market to your home, you will try to put all of them into what? Carry bag. And you will try to carry bag as a single item. After coming to home from carry bag, you take the items and use them as needed. Yes, na boss? So Java Bean is like a carry bag, na boss? It allows to combine multiple values into single object of Java class, and we can pass that object from one class to another class. One layer to another layer. What do you say, guys? So, one layer to another layer. One class to another class, or one layer to another layer, right? Since each Java Bean class object holds some data to carry, it is called model class because model means data. We always use Java Bean as helper class in the project or application development to pass multiple values from one class to another class of different layers in the form of objects. Inputs sname, SADD, M1, M2, M3. Service class calculates what? Total and average. Check it out. Client application is passing inputs sname, SADD, M1, M2, M3 to controller class as model class object. Controller class passes to service class as model class object. Service class passes to DAO class as model class object. Somehow DAO sends model class object data as SQL query inputs to database software. So their database software query executes and we get the records in the form of result set object. Okay. Result set records will be converted into model class object, passed to service class. Service class passes that another model class object's data to controller class. Controller classes passes to client application and will be given to end user. So that means when more than three inputs are there to pass, when more than three outputs are there to get. So we are preferring to work with what? Model class object numbers. We are preferring to work with what? Model class object or not. When inputs are more than three, outputs are more than three. Across the multiple layers, we pass those multiple above three inputs, above three outputs simply as what? Java bean class object. Nothing but model class object. Java bean class object, nothing but model class object. Clear, my dear? Across the multiple layers of a project. If you want to pass more than three values, then we take the support of a Java Bean class object. That means we combine multiple values to single Java Bean class object and we send that object from one layer to another layer of the same project or different projects. Within the project or across the multiple projects. We try to pass multiple values in the form of Java Bean class object or not. So passing student info from client application to controller class to service class to DAO class. In the form of student class object, nothing but Java Bean class object having multiple details. Nothing but SNO, SNAME, M1, M2, M3, M3 are there. Passing credit card or debit card details from e-commerce project to PayPal project in the form of Java Bean class object. E-commerce is a separate project, PayPal is a separate project. Across the multiple projects also, multiple values will be passed in the form of Java Bean class object or not. Across the multiple projects also, these multiple values will be passed simply in the form of what? Java Bean class object. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Listen. Client application, controller class, service class, DAO class. All these are main classes of the project. They are like bank employees, guys. Bank clerk, bank manager, bank mutual funds advisor, bank loan department employee, like this. But among these people, files should be moved. Files should be moved from one place to another place. For that one office boy support will be taken. Okay, using Office Boy, you will move the files from one employee to another employee so that every employee can focus on work, not shifting the files. Okay, guys, tell me, this Office Boy is like a Java bean, guys, and the remaining all employees are like main classes. They are like layers of the mini project. They are like layers of the project. See? Client application passing multiple inputs as model class object to controller class. Controller is passing to service as model class object. Control service is passing to DAO as model class object. DAO is taking the data and passing them to database software as SQL query inputs. Super. SQL query execution is done, guys. There we got the results in object. There we got the results in object. From DAO, it passes to service. From service, it passes to controller. From controller, it goes to client application. How many types of JDBC connection objects are there? Okay, first of all, you try to understand advantages of layered application, guys. What are the advantages of layered application? Definitely, there will be some advantages with layered applications. And separate, clean separation between business logic. Clean separation between business logic. Hmm. Model class object is nothing but Java bean class, guys. Nothing, right? Array. Persistence logic in DAO class. Business logic in service class. Monitoring logic in controller class. Like this, we have a clean separation between logics is there or not. So we can say code is not clumsy. We can get we can get code modularity and reusability. Why? Different logics we kept in different classes and methods, they can be reused. The modification done in one layer logics does not affect other layer logics. If you modify one layer logic, because all clean separations are there now, boss. It's like a 3 BHK flat, 4 BHK flat. You do something in one room, does it disturb the other room, guys? No. Parallel development is possible, so productivity is good. Okay, guys. Multiple programmers can work on what? Multiple layers parallelly. So that productivity will be improved. Or that means we can do more work in less time. What do you say, guys? It is industry standard architecture to develop the projects and accept it. It is industry standard architecture to develop the projects, guys. Yeah, it is definitely. And everyone prefers developing projects as layered application. Yeah. Both monolith architecture and microservice architecture projects can have layers. Monolith architecture and project architecture can have layers. Layers can be there anywhere, guys. So now you got the clarity, boss. Come on, everyone. Okay. So whatever problems I said with keeping multiple logics in single class, all the problems can be solved by using layered application. It's like 3 BHK, 4 BHK flat. Life is comfortable in single bachelor room or 4 BHK flat. So definitely life is always comfortable in what? 4 BHK flat, not in bachelor room, right? Not in bachelor room. Hmm. Yeah, listen, guys. Your DAO class is there having persistence logic. Persistence logic means connecting to database software and manipulating database data. Okay. To connect to any database software, we need a connection. We need a JDBC connection or not? Without JDBC connection, can we talk with any database software? No. Can we talk with any database software? No. Okay, now listen carefully, guys. Yeah, you want to prefer working with a manually created connection object or readily available pooled connection object? What do you prefer, guys? Manually created connection object or readily available pooled connection? Readily available pooled connection is best, so that programmer need not to put any efforts to create the connection object. So that is what I am trying to explain. There are two types of JDBC connection objects. How many types of JDBC connection objects are there? Direct JDBC connection object, pooled connection object. What do you mean by direct, guys? Created by the programmer manually. Programmer is loading driver class dot for name driver class. Connection con is equal to driver manager dot get connection. It is creating and returning connection object. It is creating and returning JDBC connection object. Is that clear, boss? It is simply creating and returning JDBC connection object. Perfect. Other one, guys, pooled JDBC connection object. Okay. It is the JDBC connection object that is gathered from JDBC connection pool through data source object. Data source object represent JDBC connection pool, guys. JDBC connection pool is a factory where set of JDBC connection objects are available. Since data source object represents JDBC connection pool, any operation on JDBC connection pool will be done through data source object. You want to keep new connection objects in connection pool, data source object. You want to get one existing connection object from connection pool through data source object. Okay, all connections are busy with a different client, creating new connection object because there is empty space, data source object. So every activity in connection pool will be done and will be controlled by data source object. It's like data source object is like car owner and connection pool is like car or set of cars owned by one person. So all activities on the car, controlling on the car will be there in the hands of what? Car owner or not? Will be there in car owner or not, right, boss? See how to get connection object from connection pool using data source object? Yeah, DS means data source object. DS dot get connection. You will get one connection object from connection pool now, boss. You will get one connection object from connection pool. Understanding my statement? Okay. Connection con is equal to DS dot get connection. This will give one free connection object from connection pool. And moreover, we can control this connection pool through data source by specifying minimum pool size, maximum pool size, and other parameters. Minimum pool size, when pool is created, if people are using connections or not, how many connection objects should be there by default. That is minimum pool size. That is minimum pool size. Next, guys, maximum pool size. What is the next one? Maximum. Okay. While creating new connection object, how many connection objects it can be? It can create maximum in the connection pool. How many connection objects it can create maximum in the connection pool? That is called max connection pool, guys. That is called max connection. Yeah. Tell me, manual connection is good or pooled connection is good? Pooled connection is good because it is having set of readily available connection objects. Through data source, we can access whatever connection object we want and we can use it, right? We can access whatever connection object we want and we can use it, guys. JDBC connection pool is a factory that contains set of readily available JDBC connection objects before actually being used. Super. The advantages of JDBC connection pool are gives the reusability of JDBC connection object. You will get the reusability of connection. With the minimum JDBC connection objects, we can make maximum request our client application talking to database software. We can make maximum request our client application talking to database software. Nice, boss. Creating new JDBC connection objects, managing them, removing idle connection objects. Idle means useless, waste connection objects. Will be taken care by connection pool itself, so no burden to the program. And big things are happening automatically now, boss. Okay, now listen. Okay, working with connection pool is like Naresh IT Institute providing chairs in the classroom. Suppose Naresh IT is not providing chairs in the classroom. They asked every student they would bring their own chair. In a classroom, daily 5 classes are happening. Each class, 300 members, 400 members are there. 5 into 400. 2000 chairs should be purchased by the students' numbers. Purchasing 2000 sites means very costly affair. Okay. What management will do, guys? They go for chair pooling. They just purchase 400 chairs because that is the max capacity of the room. And they will reuse for multiple 5 batches. 1 year for multiple years, sir. Not just for 1 year. Every year they will use, right? Yeah, data source is a predefined thing. Actually, it's interface. Data source object means object of a class that implements the interface. Yeah. So it's like management purchasing 400 chairs and they will be used for all the 5 batches. Only 1 year, every year. So that means 500 chairs will be used by every year. Every year, suppose each batch 6 months to 5 months to 6 months. Every year, each chair will be used by whom? 4,000 members. Okay, each year. Suppose chair life is 10 years. 10 years. So each chair is used by whom? How many people, guys? 10 into 4,000. 40,000 people. That means more reusability is there for chairs or not? Okay, see advantages of JDBC connection pool. Gives reusability for JDBC connection object. Per day, each chair will can be used by what? 5 students. Here also, each connection object can be used by multiple requests and multiple clients, one after another. Yeah, next one. With the minimum 400 chairs, I am giving service to 40,000 students in every year. Yeah, reusability. With the minimum 400, with the minimum connection objects, I can make maximum applications are request talking to database software now was. Perfect. Yeah, next one, guys. Creating new connection objects, managing them, removing idle connection objects will be taken care by connection pool itself. Listen, create adding new chairs in the classroom, removing them when classes are not there. Okay, okay, adding new chairs, removing idle chairs will be taken care by Naresh IT management. You are least bothered about that. So same thing, connection pool also, all these operations are taken care by connection pool itself. Super guys. What is the JDBC connection pool that you have used in your projects? What is data source object? Data source object represents JDBC connection pool. It acts as an entry and exit point for JDBC connection pool. That means all the operations on JDBC connection pool will be done by using data source object. Small operation or big operation on the JDBC connection will be done. JDBC connection will be taken care by data source object. How many types of connection pools are there? Two types. Standalone connection pool, server managed connection pool. So standalone connection pools are suitable for standalone application. Suitable in web application, distribute application, enterprise application that are deployable in the servers. What guys? That are deployable in the servers. That are deployable in the servers. That are deployable in the server. Server managed connection pool. Okay. Yeah. See a standalone connection pool. C3P0, Hikari CP, Proxul, Apache DB CP2, Vibur. All these are what? Standalone connection pool. Okay? They're readily available in the even repositories. We can get it and use them. They're there in the form of jar files. Okay, every web server or application server. Application server is extension of web server, guys. Application server is equal to web server plus plus. Gives built-in JDBC connection pool. So better to use that connection pool in the deployed applications like web applications and distributed application. Whenever you are planning to deploy the applications in what? Web server or application server, instead of using third-party standalone connection pool, better to use server managed connection pool, guys. That server managed JDBC connection pool. In Tomcat, we got Tomcat managed JDBC connection pool. In WebLogic, we got WebLogic managed JDBC connection pool. In Wildfly, we got Wildfly managed JDBC connection pool. Every server is having its own connection pool or not? Every server is having its own connection pool or not? I want to reply. Spring Boot application, Spring Boot application gives Hikari CP as the built-in JDBC connection pool through auto configuration. If we add JDBC JPA related starters. Yeah, good news, guys. Good news, once you add JDBC starter, JPA starters, guys, you will get Hikari connection pool automatically through auto configuration. Actually, what happens, you will get Hikari data source object pointing to the connection pool. But connection objects in this connection pool should point to which database? Oracle, MySQL, PostgreSQL, X database, Y database, Z database. Okay, now listen carefully. That depends upon which JDBC driver details you have given in application.properties or YML file. In application.properties or YML file, you have given Oracle JDBC driver details. So the data source object that is created will point to connection pool that is having Oracle JDBC connection objects. Okay, na? Oracle JDBC connection object. Okay. In application.properties, if I give MySQL JDBC driver details, the data source object that is created through auto configuration will point to JDBC connection pool that holds MySQL connection. That holds MySQL connections, guys. Yes, boss. See Spring-boot starter JDBC, Spring-boot starter JPA. When these two or any one starter is added, we get Hikari CP data source object pointing to JDBC connection pool automatically as a Spring Bean through auto configuration. As a Spring Bean to auto configuration. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. And Dhanush Reddy and others, don't study FAQs. You never clear interview. Why I will tell. First question answer is based for second question. Second question answer is based for third question. If you study FAQs, will you clear the interview? Okay, please don't treat interview process as your academic exam. Very fastly how to come out of academic way of preparing subject. You should have a total concept, guys. I will study FAQs means you never clear interview. Whatever terms you have used in first question answer, they will be caught using them. Second question will be asked. The terminology is used in second question will be used while asking third question. It's like Viva exam. It's not your academic exam. It's interactive discussion. It's a subject conversation. Is not questioning and answering. If anyone is having such feeling, come out of it. And let me say one thing frankly. Your 80%, 90% in academics, you have got them because you have a great memory power. You remembered many things, you by-hearted many things. That's why you vomited on the paper, you got more marks. Okay, no guarantee such fellow should become a great person in the interview room of software engineer, software interview, or after joining in the company. Because in the company, it is not questioning and answering. In the company, one task is given and you have to complete the task. While completing the task, you may take the support of Google, ChatGPT, old projects code, your reference projects code, but somehow you have to complete and submit the task. You can copy, paste, and you can modify the code as per your project. You can inspire from existing code while writing the new code. Sir, it's so easy now then. No, sir, it's not so easy. Why? If you search in the Google or Chat GPT, you will be having 100 options. Choosing the right option among the 100 option needs concept. And that concept we are learning here. That's why don't give damn importance to syntaxes and code. Give damn importance to concept. Please give damn importance to concept. Anyway, at the end of every module, I'm typing subject what we discussed, points what we discussed. If you can feel them as FAQs. They are not actually FAQs, they are overall revision of the subject, guys. Right. Tell me, boss, in industry, connection pool is better or manual connection is better? Connection pool is better. But how do you get access each connection object from connection pool? Through data source object. What do you mean by data source object? It is the object of a class that implements data source interface. In Spring Boot application, we can work with all types of standalone JDBC connection. All kinds of server managed JDBC connection. But in Spring Boot application, we get Hikari CP based JDBC connection pool support automatically through auto configuration process. So that's why, and moreover, Hikari CP gives the better performance only. And the best connection pool is Hikari CP only. That's the reason most of the time in Spring Boot application, we prefer working with Hikari CP now, boss. Right. The above said standalone JDBC connection pool and server managed connection pool can be used in both Spring and Spring Boot application. In non-Spring and non-Spring Boot application, array, they are not only specific to Spring Boss, they can be used in Spring and Spring Boot application, non-Spring and non-Spring Boot by application. But listen, guys, what is the most regularly used connection pool in Spring and Spring Boot application? Hikari CP. In Spring Boot application, it is because it comes automatically through auto configuration. In Spring application, it is because its connection performance is good. Because its a performance is good, guys. What is mostly used JDBC connection pool data source in our JDBC, in our Spring or Spring Boot application. Answer. Hikari CP. Hikari CP. Because of its auto configuration, because of its performance, guys. Performance and its ability to come as Spring Bean through auto configuration. Auto configuration in Spring Boot application. in Spring Boot application. Got it, guys? Super. Yeah, I modified this. That's why let me upload them in my notes bit. Spring Boot core, guys. File upload 901. Spring Boot core, guys. Yeah, we are also going to discuss this document. Let me upload both. Yeah, morning batch also I have not uploaded. Yeah. File upload, guys. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Yeah, let's get into Spring Boot core. This is very simple discussion, guys. I'm going to revise various annotation that we are going to use. Okay. In core programming of Spring Boot, we use following different categories of annotations, guys. Annotations for configuration, annotation for data supply injection process, annotation for Spring Bean lifecycle, and lastly, miscellaneous annotations. Lastly, what is there? Miscellaneous annotation. Next, guys, tell me. First, annotations for configuration, guys. These annotations are given to configure Java class as Spring Beans. That means making IOC container creating object for Java classes. Providing info to underlying server or container or framework by marking Java code is called configuration. This process gives inputs or instructions to underlying container or server or framework to recognize and use given Java code in certain angle. To recognize and use given Java code in certain angle. Clear, my dear? To recognize and use given Java code in certain angle. Hmm. Yeah, these annotations are there to make Java class as Spring Beans, guys. Yeah, tell me, already discussed, guys. Component to make Java class as Spring Bean. General user defined. Service to configure user defined Java class as Spring Bean come service class. Repository To make user-defined Java class as Spring Bean come DAO class. Controller. User-defined Java class as Spring Bean come controller class. REST controller. To make user-defined Java class as Spring Bean come web controller come REST API. REST controller. That means distributed application, guys. Nothing but distributed application. Nothing but distributed application. Controller advice. To configure user-defined Java class as Spring Bean come exception handler advice class in REST API. Configuration. To configure user-defined Java class as Spring Bean come configuration class. When I say come, end boss. When I say come, end. Okay. All these are called stereotype annotation. Any guesses why? Any guesses why it is called stereotype? All these annotations are doing similar activity. What is that? Making Java class as Spring Bean with minor changes. So that's the reason they are called stereotype annotation A to G, not the H. At the rate bean is different ball game. It is not creating object for Java class. It is taking method returned object and making as a Spring Bean. It is not creating object for given class. Remaining all annotations are what? They only loading the class, they only creating object, they only making object as Spring Bean. But when it comes to at the rate bean annotation, it calls the method automatically and method returned object becomes Spring Bean. Object creation is not done by IOC container. In case of at the rate bean method itself returns object. Okay, this annotation makes IOC container take that object and make it as a Spring Bean. That object and make it as a Spring Bean. Clear, my dear? Take that object and simply make it as a Spring Bean, guys. Web controller class can take and process HTTP requests given by browser software. Calculations, analyzation, filtering, validation comes under business logic or service logic. Performing code operations on database software is called persistence operations. What operations, guys? Persistence operations. We don't use at the rate configuration annotation directly in Spring Boot application. Rather, we use indirectly through at the rate Spring Boot application annotation because that internally gives three more other annotation. Because that internally gives three more other annotations. Clear, my dear? That internally gives three more other annotations. At the rate enable auto configuration, component scan and configuration. Cool, guys. All these are Spring specific annotations or not? Yeah, in Spring Boot also those are inherited as it is and we are used as it is. But what do you mean by stereotype annotation? Multiple annotation doing the similar work, more or less similar work, are called stereotype annotation. I have given real life example also. Boys dressing is stereotype dressing, remembered? Annotations for data supply, to inject the data to pass the data. At the rate auto void, to inject one Spring Bean with another Spring Bean, either by name or by type. By name means what? We are going to specify inject to this bean ID based dependent in qualifier or that one. Value to inject simple values, guys. Qualifier, while doing this injection, if any ambiguity problem comes, qualifier comes into picture. Primary, okay, qualifier will do by name mode of auto wiring. Primary, any ambiguity problem comes in this process, that also Primary also comes into picture, guys. Primary also comes into picture, right, guys? Mm. And apart from that, we also got Java config annotations given by JDK and JW APIs. Okay, annotations are given by those APIs, but functionalities are provided by underlying servers and containers. Okay, for this Java config annotation given by JDK and JW APIs, Spring people will provide Spring specific functionalities. Hibernate people will provide Hibernate specific functionality. X people will provide X specific functionality. So that means, but what's the advantage? They are common in all frameworks, guys. They can be used in any framework. Sir, it's sounding good now, but as of now, complete alternate for Spring and Spring Boot annotations are not given as Java config annotation. So it's really meaningless. 50% Java config annotation, 50% Spring annotation really does not sound good. That's the reason we are not giving so much importance to what Java config annotation. We are giving much importance to Spring specific annotation. And moreover, for as of now, there are no alternates for Spring and Spring Boot framework to move our code to that framework and execute in that framework. That's the reason. So we still prefer working with what? Spring API specific annotation, not the common annotation, not the common annotations. Clear, boss? Got the point, my dear? I want reply. Java config annotation. At the rate named, guys. It's a two purpose. Number one, to configure Java class as Spring Bean, like at the rate component. No specialities, nothing. Another angle, whenever ambiguity problem comes towards injection, and we can use at the rate name to solve the ambiguity problem. That means alternate to qualifier. It's a multi-purpose annotation, guys. It can be used as alternate to component to configure Java class as Spring Bean. Number two, in dependency injection, if any ambiguity problem is raised, that can be solved as alternate to at the rate qualifier. At the rate inject for injection, guys. One Spring Bean to another Spring Bean injection. At the rate resource is also for what? One Spring Bean to another Spring Bean injection. But it itself contains one attribute called name. It itself contains one attribute called name to solve the ambiguity problem. That means no need of using another annotation to solve the ambiguity problem. Resource itself is having an attribute to solve the ambiguity problem. So what is the best annotation out of all these three annotations? Okay, resource is best because it can do injection and it can even solve the ambiguity problem. See, I have given quite real answer. Why industry is not preferring Java config annotations in Spring or Spring Boot programming, though they make our code as more non-invasive code. Non-invasive code means what, guys? Not specific to Spring or Spring Boot. They are not specific to Spring or Spring Boot. They are common for what? All the people. They are common for all the people. Because given by JDK and JWE, JDK, JWE APIs are common for all frameworks, not specific to any framework. Moreover, they are free APIs and free frameworks, guys. Yeah. Can you analyze the reason? Well, reason number one. Very few Java config annotations are there. They are not sufficient to develop entire Spring or Spring Boot project using Java config annotation. So few annotations Java config, other annotations what? Spring annotations, really meaningless. Really meaningless. That's why stop working with what? Java config annotation and start dealing with what? Spring annotation. Start dealing with what, guys? Spring annotations. Clear, my dear? Next reason. As of now, there is no serious alternate for what? Spring and Spring Boot framework. That means there is no meaning of, there is no chance of moving code from Spring to Spring and Spring code to other framework, Spring Boot code to other framework. So that's the reason no one is preferring Java config annotation. Everyone is dealing with what? Spring and Spring Boot specific annotations, guys. Annotations for Spring Bean lifecycle, guys. Post construct to pre-destroy. For lifecycle activities, we use these annotation. And luckily, these are also Java config annotations, guys. They are not specific to Spring. They are common for what? All the frameworks. They are common for all the frameworks. Yeah. Lastly, what we got? Miscellaneous annotations. Lastly, what we got, guys? Miscellaneous annotations. Property source or property sources to configure the property file. At the rate component scan to scan the classes having stereotype annotation so that they can be recognized as Spring Bean, so that they can be instantiated by what? IOC container. At the rate import resource to link a XML file with the Spring Bean configuration file class. At the rate import to link one configuration class with another configuration class at the rate import. At the rate scope to specify Spring Bean scope, guys. Spring Boot also deals with the same old scopes, guys, no special scopes. At the rate lazy to disable eager instantiation of singleton scope Spring Bean and to delay the instantiation process, everything delay. Then we have to use at the rate lazy. Then you have to use at the rate lazy. Clear, my dear? Property file configuration to scan for stereotype annotation classes, to link XML file with configuration class, to link configuration class with configuration class. Scope is to specify Spring Bean scope. Lazy is those singleton scope has come by default. If you want to disable pre-instantiation of singleton scope Spring Bean, then we have to use at the rate lazy, because I want things to happen lazily, not eagerly. When everything is ready, everything is set, then you should go for installation, right, boss? What is the advantage of Spring Boot framework compared to Struts and JSF? Struts and JSF are web application framework. At maximum, they can be used to develop the websites. At maximum, they can be used to develop the websites, right, boss? But Spring and Spring Boot is all-rounder frameworks. Okay, a lot of modules are there. Some modules itself, other frameworks. Some modules itself, other framework. So what's the basic advantage of this, guys? Integrated. Spring and Spring Boot frameworks are integrated framework. That is single point agenda to deliver all the frameworks. That's a single point agenda to deliver all the frameworks. Understanding my statement, boss? Using Struts and JSF at max, we can develop websites. Using Spring, I can develop standalone application, two-tier application. Okay, non-business application, web application, enterprise application, mobile application, and some extent data science application, some extent IoT application. So like this in multiple places, its role can be used. In multiple places, its role can be used. It's an all-rounder framework compared to Struts and JSF. Struts and JSF are like rivers. Okay. Spring and Spring Boot are like oceans. Using them, we can develop all kinds of applications. Check it out, guys. Check it out, guys. I think this application we already developed. Yesterday, we developed this application. Maybe we have not taken vehicle and engine, boss. Maybe you have not taken vehicle and engine. We have taken what? Flipkart and DTDC, right? Check it out. Target class vehicle. It is having one has a property engine. Engine. Implementing engine, how many dependents are there? One, two, three, four. Total, how many dependents are there? Four are there. Total, how many dependents are there, guys? Four are there. Tell me, guys, when you say at the rate auto void on engine type property, there is a possibility of getting what? Ambiguity problem? Ambiguity problem? Come on. So this problem can be solved in what? Solution one at the rate primary. You don't want to use solution one. Solution two at the rate qualifier C engine. Okay. Solution three by matching bean property name with target class bean property name with dependent class bean ID. Dependent class bean ID. What is the proper property name? Engine. Engine. Is there any bean property whose name is engine? Not there. So third solution is not applied. If you want, you can apply, guys. Third solution is not applied, but if you want, you can apply. So how to resolve the ambiguity problem? Already discussed. Qualifier is best. Primary is there by matching spring bean property name with what? If all three solutions are applied pointing to three different spring beans, then the qualifier solution works as the final solution. That's the reason qualifier is good. The bean ID required for qualifier can be gathered from property file if needed. If needed, instead of hard coding by modifying source code of the target class, if needed, we can bring it from what? If needed, we can bring it from what? Properties file, XML file. Yesterday only we discussed it, guys. So these two reasons makes at the rate qualifier as the best solution for ambiguity problem. So whenever you got ambiguity problem, better to use qualifier now, boss. Better to use qualifier. Come on. Yeah, at the rate resource is Java config annotation. That is also combination of what? At the rate auto void plus at the rate qualifier. But the problem is we are not preferring what? Java config annotation. Why? Because hardly 4 5 annotations are there in the market. Do you think with 4 5 annotation our job will be done? Not done. So that's why we are ignoring what? Those Java config annotation, though they are special, we are sticking with the regular Spring and Spring Boot application because we need more annotation and more annotations are given in Spring and Spring Boot applications. Got it, guys? Okay, now one tricky question here, boss. One tricky question here. Can I use service or repository in the place of at the rate component? Can I use service or repository in the place of at the rate component? Answer is yes, but not recommended. Answer is yes, not recommended. Why, sir? Repository and service not only making Java class as Spring Bean, they are also treated as what? Special service class, special repository class. Special service class will take care of transaction management internally if needed. Special repository class will translate underlying technology exceptions into Spring or Spring Boot specific exceptions now was. That is called exception rethrowing. Suppose if I don't configure using at the rate service, at the rate repository, okay, as long as you are not applying these features, you will get positive response. You will feel no difference is there. You will feel no difference is there, nothing like that. You will feel no difference is there, nothing like that. Come on, boss. You will feel no difference is there, nothing like that. But if you want to enjoy special identity, If you want to enjoy special identity for the Spring Beans, okay, then better to configure service and repository. Service and repository, right? Okay. To make Java class as Spring Bean, use @component. To make Java class as Spring Bean come service class, use @service. Service annotation automatically enable transaction management in certain conditions. The process of executing related logics by applying do everything or nothing principle. If completed, complete everything. If not completed, don't complete anything. That is called transaction management or not. That is called transaction management or not. I want reply those. Yeah, the moment you apply @service, you will get transaction management support. Okay. The moment you apply @repository, uh, Java class becomes Spring Bean come repository class or DAO class. Because of which, what happens, though Spring internally using JDBCs, though Spring Boot internally using Hibernate. So this internal code generates what? JDBC exception or Hibernate exception. They will be automatically translated into what? Spring specific exception, Spring Boot specific exception, so that catching them and handling them becomes easy here. Catching them and handling them becomes quite easy here. So what's the basic advantage of going for @service instead of @component? So @service makes a class as service class. Number two. Number two, @service gives automatic transaction management. That means logics in the code will execute by applying do everything or nothing. What's the advantage of @repository? Okay. Makes the Java class as special DAO class or repository class. Number two advantage is okay. Number two advantage is underlying technology exceptions will be translated into Spring specific exceptions, guys. What happens if we configure service DAO classes using @component annotation? Reverse, guys. Reverse. Yes, we can configure, but additional behavior required for Spring Beans should be added manually. Like we need to enable transaction management manually. We need to enable exception translation facility in DAO class manually. I hope you understood, guys. Sir, what happens if we use @service and @component at the same time? It's not actually not required. It's useless. Actually, moreover, @component is not a repeatable annotation. You try to place @service, @component at a time, you will get error. Because most of the annotations are not repeatable annotations, guys. Not repeated annotations. It's not a recommended process. This application we already developed and I have given as a task to you people. I hope you also completed that one. And one more assignment is given, guys. What is that? Student is the target class and it is having material property. What property? Material property. And the possible materials are, okay, Java course material, PHP course material, .NET course material. One material should be injected every time and that should be used in prepare method. So can you complete this assignment by tomorrow, guys? Can you complete this assignment by tomorrow? I want reply. Okay. So with this level 1 background is prepared for layered application. Only level 1. Only level 1 background is prepared. Level 2 background preparation in tomorrow's class. Then we will go for coding. We will go for coding. Don't miss the class of tomorrow. Thank you, guys. And you'll be having offline classes from June 5th onwards. June 5th onwards, you'll be having